So I'm going to do a little video on connector configurations. Here is a GEP fuse box. That's a 12-way fuse box we use a lot. And actually right below it is the mounting bracket and the cover for it. And we also have a lock for the 24 and the 12-way. Here's the cover for the 24-way. Here's the 24-way box. And I guess, this is a customer's version of it. So we'll go in here. We already have it set up where it's got 12 cavities. We do have one configuration that has the cover, the mounting bracket, and one lock on it. I'm going to do another one. We'll just call this one no pins because it doesn't have any contacts or seals on it. It's kind of like generic where if I start with using this fuse box, it'll already add the cover, the tab on the cover, and the TPA with it. So every time I use this, it already populates those as well. So the bill of materials will show that I need the cover, the bracket, and the lock. I'm going to do another one. We'll call it 10 amp to relay. Because one of the main things we use this for is we'll put two 20 amp little micro relays in it and then two fuses in the middle. Sometimes we'll do 20 amp, sometimes we'll do 10 amp. For our UTV kits with light bars, when we have two light bars, we'll do the two fuses in the middle, two 10 amp fuses, and on the outer sides we'll do the relays. So that's what I'll call it. So we need custom parts. Add custom part. We got two mini fuses. We'll do two of these relays. So that's always on there. We'll have the mounting bracket. Oops, I did two of those. One cover. So custom parts will go down here. We'll delete one of the mounting bracket. Gotta be careful when you do that quantity thing. I like to do the quantity last, and then locks. Since that TPA is under locks, search for FRH. And whenever I do a 10 amp setup, everything, right click here, edit contacts and wire seals, everything gets turned DA, which for us is the Metropack 280 tanged 16 to 20 gauge. I don't have tanged listed in here, but since I design everything, I know that's termed DA. And then the seal, our seal is seal 14, purple Metropack 280 seal. And there it's saved. So now, do a new harness, add connector. It's at the top. The last thing you edit always ends up at the top in here, I've noticed. So you add the connector. If you look, it comes set up with the cover, the tab. There's no terminals in there because what you got to do is right click here, or you can do it over here. Configuration, apply no pins, or you can apply the 10 amp to relay. So I did that, populated all this. Now in the bill of materials I have the relay holder, two fuses, two relays, the bracket, the cover, the TPA, the 12 pins, and the 12 seals. And I don't have to manually do this every time. On some connectors that's fantastic. Like if you have 3019 is our connector for this. You see I already have it set up where I have 9, 10, 11, and 12. So 9 is the connector, 3019 is our internal part number. The lock is 3019-T. Contact 3 term IAs, the GT female 18 to 20 gauge. And then we got dark blue seals, the GT 150 seals. So it's already populated with the pins. That works real great for stuff that you're not going to change the wire size. When we get into our 48-way fuse boxes, it's real hard to set up because you got multiple ways you can do it. If you get to these amp super seals, same thing. they have, I have it defaulted to turn on the wire seal, so I usually come in here and click it off if there's no wire seals. But for us, we use two different contacts. We always use stamped and formed because we have a crimp press that crimps everything, and our big machine can cut out and crimp about 2,000 wires an hour with these terminals on it. So we don't use the closed barrel stuff. So there's three possible things that can go in here. We can get, there's a cavity plug, which is our seal 66. Then we have terminal NB and term NC for 16, 18 gauge or 20 to 22 gauge. So it's not always perfect. Rapid Harness doesn't have the ability right now to detect what you got going on here. They do have a rule checker, so it says, you know, these connectors have unused cavities. Like if I were to go to the fuse box from pin 1 to pin 3, if I use a conductor that's 12 gauge, so let's say 12 black, this terminal is for 16 and 20 gauge. I have it set up in here to say minimum, maximum is 16 and 20 gauge. The rule checker will say this: you have to come in here if you want to see Rapid Harness do some of its little checks for you. Zero length. This is this loop wire, zero length. In here under the edit lengths, default loop back length, you can put, usually I put 3.5 for these fuse boxes. So now it'll make a wire that loops from one pin to another in here. Get some length, and it should clear. Yeah, if you reset it, it'll go. So it says wire 1 doesn't fit. So you go to wire 1, you're like, oh, that's too big. I can either change the wire size, or I can go in here and specify contact design. DB is our 12 to 14. I have it set up, it's 10 in there. And now, if you run this, it'll say, it doesn't say the seal's the wrong size, so, I mean, there's stuff they could improve, but from where it's come in the last 7 years or 8 years I've been using it, a lot of this didn't exist. The configuration thing is amazing, because how many times do you want to go through when you have pressure transducers that have the same configuration on there? They do have, I don't use them, but a lot of you guys do, boots, so you can add a boot. So if you have all your boots listed in here, you could put a boot on. It wouldn't really necessarily be on this one, but the 3019 we have here, this you could put a boot on instead of the lock, or with the lock, however you guys do it. If you got heat shrink custom parts, is literally anything else. That's why I have all these in here, because they're not something else. Wire seals are obviously wire seals. The lock. So you can set up all this. There's back shells and boots. I guess there's different configurations for all that. So here's kind of how you can save yourself some time down the road. Up front, it is input heavy to get all this set up, but I usually just, as I go, especially since we started using this long before this became a thing, a lot of our connectors didn't have them, and as I installed them in here, if I use it on a harness and it comes without pins, instead of doing once, I'll just right click, view design, configuration, create one, save it, and then you're good to go. So that's how you can set up configurations for your connectors. I'm about to draw up a harness that uses a fuse box with those two relays and the fuses, and it's like the 4th time I've done it, so I decided to do a configuration. And I can even go back here and reapply this stock configuration. I believe, yep, there it goes. And now all I did is have the rule checker tell me that that's not the right size. So then I can just either, I can go down here, right click, change the design and say I need a 16 instead in there. Now it's happy. Or in the connection one, you can find it in here. You can right click, change design, go to 20 gauge. So there's lots of different ways you can check the rule checker, make sure, especially these big fuse boxes, it's nice when I have a 48-way box, and if I change 2 wire sizes and I don't want to scroll through and try to manually match these up, this will catch it as long as you have this set up right. So for your contacts, you can set up the minimum size, maximum size, so 16 to 20 is this one. That's, I think, a 120777411 is that part number. Can't remember names, but I can remember part numbers. Yeah, see, this one says 12 to 14 for whatever reason, and here it said it was 10 to 14. Oh, I think that's because that other one was a ferrule. Contacts, wire seals. Yeah, it says 10 to 14 here. So what I did here was, that was loud. Oh yeah, because I have it set up as a ferrule for if we have loose wires that we just want crimped, or here. So here's one says 10 to 14. I may as well fix it right now while I'm looking at it. So it's pretty easy to modify stuff and get it correct, but it does have a rule checker. I've seen people say that they wish it would auto detect stuff. It kind of does, but it doesn't auto assign it. So if you put a 12 gauge wire in here, it doesn't automatically change it to our term DB, or if you go to 10, it would be term DF, which is our silver plated 10 gauge terminal for these. So that's, like I said, it's a little bit on the configuration setup, and what you can auto assign to connectors. Like I said, a lot of you guys will use a lot of pressure transducers with a specific boot, and instead of having to look it up every time and set up 3 contacts, 3 seals, a TPA if desired, and a boot, it can automatically put it on your bill of materials, and it'll list it. So 9, 10, 11, 12, bill of materials, 9 connectors, 30, 19, 10, 11, 12. So it's got it all in there.